Hello everybody, Bob1984 here again. In this video, I'm going to go through the different weight loss journeys that everybody seems to be going on at the moment. The purpose of this is I'm wanting to really get together an idea of different people and different journeys on YouTube. So I know people specifically who are doing different journeys to me. People do the same journey, people who have even been on Mounjaro, such as me, and are now doing something different. So the purpose of this, obviously, is this is the first full week where the price hike came into effect with Manjaro. So people might have made a decision like me to switch over to something else. So first off, what we're going to talk about is the first diet that is available, and that is Slimming World. And that's obviously what I do. And the reason why I've chosen to do Slimming World is I've done it in the past. Obviously, people who know my story now know I'm a yo-yoer. That classic yo-yo person whose weight goes up and down. They've been on a diet most of their entire life, well, adult life, and things, work. And then you get comfortable again, and then things obviously get drastic, and you have to try it again. So, Slimming World for me is all about making sure that you are eating a balanced diet of the free foods that they say. Now, I don't personally agree with the whole free food thing. Being told that you can eat unlimited pasta, unlimited potatoes, and all that kind of stuff, I don't personally think is a very good thing. So I don't actually abide by that rule. What we try to do is we try to have a healthy, balanced diet, but we also try to have plenty of speed food. Now, it's the speed food that I find that really does boost things. It gets your metabolism going, it gets things working in a faster. That's why it's called speed. And what they always say is the third of your plate must be speed. So that's like vegetables. When you're having salad, plenty of tomatoes, lettuce, all that sort of stuff, carrots. I normally do try and have a chunk, and this is me. I've changed over the years. I'm not usually a massive vegetable person, as you can imagine. The first change for me was managing to get that third of a plate of speed. And obviously that's all of your fruits and things that you should be having obviously as part of your 5 a day. Now, the biggest thing for me is making sure that I feel full. So it's a case of trying to eat food that is low in sin, but don't be afraid to use your sins. Obviously, I get 35 a day. I try not to have 35 a day, but your sins are there for the foods that you simply cannot go without. So, like, if you cannot go through the day without a couple of chunks of chocolate, make sure you have them, because the more that you tell yourself that you can't have them, the more your body wants them. And the biggest thing with Slimming World is you've got to get your mindset correct that it's a marathon. It's not a sprint. Things aren't going to happen overnight. Do you know what I mean? For instance, there's a woman in my class when I go to every Friday. Since January, she's lost 6.5 stone, and she's had main weeks of maintain, but she's never actually had a week of gain. And you know what it is, and I wish I could get into that mind space, and I will, but just for instance, that's the first real thing that I want to talk about is how Slim will can be beneficial. I know it's got its critics, and is rightly so, in my opinion. It's not perfect, but for me and my particular lifestyle, and for Catherine, because we've done it before, we know it can work. Um, it's one that we like to, one that well we like to do, and one that obviously I thought I'd best include here. As I say, people might say, "Why do you keep going doing it and then failing?" But that's all to do with the change in mindset, and I think when you get comfortable. So yeah, it has it's just something that you can do 3 or 4 times. But I've seen so many people do a journey on Slimming World, and that's it. That's their journey. And once they get to the end goal, they're in target. Do you know what I mean? It works. It can work, and it can work for you. If you're doing Slimming World and you come across this video, let me know what you do. Just give me like a brief idea of what you do for your daily food. That's the whole purpose of this video, is just to get more awareness about the different things that are out there. So the next diet I want to talk about is what is commonly referred to as the carnivore diet, or the keto diet, or basically a meat diet only. Now, I've had some experience with this in the past. This is where I used to commonly refer to it as the Atkins diet, and I don't know how many times I've attempted this Atkins diet and done it in the past. Now, for me, it's perfect because I love meat, cheese, eggs, dairy, some dairy products and all that sort of thing, which are low in carbohydrates. That's what it's primarily about. But the more the carnivore diet as it is now is more focused on really having as much like red meat as you possibly can. Um, and there's plenty of people who endorse it, and I've seen loads of people on the internet. There's a guy called Edward Abreu, I think he's called. Now he's, his videos are quite funny if you've seen him on Facebook or whatever, but he's quite funny. But what he says is right. It's just I would love to do something like that in terms of a full time diet. I just couldn't afford to do it. The amount of, but it's been shown how effective it can be done in terms of buying all of the red meat and eggs and stuff. Now, for me, I would personally get bored doing it because it's just it's a lot of the same foods, and I know a lot of diets are a lot of the same foods, but this one in particular, it's a lot of red meat, so a lot of steak, a lot of eggs, and things like that. But the results are fabulous. I've seen people say that they've lost weight, but they feel like they've got more energy, they're more switched on. It's like as if the brain has found like an extra 10%. I've personally had friends who have done this in the past, and felt the benefit. Now, this is where I just want to put a shout out to this one really good friend who is just starting his journey. He's decided to do a weight loss journey, and holding himself accountable by doing it on YouTube, like I have. Obviously, but he's doing it differently, a different way to me. Obviously, I started off doing Mounjaro, but he is doing a carnivore diet, and I would really appreciate if people would just tune into his channel. I'll leave his details in the description. But his name is Mark, and he is known as the Carnivore Maestro. So he has just started his journey, and he's done his first video, and he is going to do primarily the carnivore diet. Now, I know Mark has done extensive research into it, and he has done it in the past and found the benefits, and I know that he'll do really well going forward. So what I wanted to mention that for is anybody who's watching my videos, I know there's people who do carnivore. If you want to leave some tips and hints and everything for my friend, obviously, for doing the journey, or anybody who's watching this who might be wanting to start that journey, again, how do you do the diet, and what benefits do you really notice from it? So the next diet that I've come across in my journey, and obviously what other people have said that they're doing, is intermittent fasting. Now, this is one that I've really looked into myself, and I just haven't had the courage to try it because I know myself how hungry I get. But the biggest benefits of intermittent fasting, from what I've done in the little research that I've done in it so far, is about it increases fat burning, and it's very good for the for insulin in the body. Um, it's good because you eat at certain times of the day. So there might be people who might not eat for, like, say, 48 hours, but then they might decide on that day that they're going to eat, they're not going to eat till, like, say, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, which they might consider to be a peak time to eat. Now, from what I've read and what I've watched, and plenty of other people's videos, is that the way they do that is it's the best way for them and their metabolism to eat at a certain time of the day. So again, going back to that Eric Abreu guy, who, as I say, eats primarily meat and eggs and a lot of things like that, he normally does fasting. And he'll fast for, say, 24 hours, 48 hours. But his videos, he always eats late in the afternoon. So it could be after 2 o'clock, after 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. And the benefits to it, he always says he feels more switched on. And, again, people who have commented on my videos in the past say they are doing it. What are the benefits that you get from this diet? And how do you do it? Because obviously I've seen people do the 5 and 2. So obviously you'd have 5 days where you'd eat and 2 days where you'd fast. How do you do that? What do you eat on those 5 days? I've always been, interested to learn more about it, and I think yeah, personally, I feel like I learn more from people's stories such as this, in comments. So because it's from real people. So yeah, any comments about intermittent fasting, leave them down below. And next, we're talking about calorie counting. So yes, this might be one that a lot of people think it's not really a diet, but it is because you're following a discipline. Now, for me, I've tried to do this in the past, and I've seen certain people endorse it, and I've seen certain things like apps being endorsed, such as Team RH, where it is a case of you just put everything into an app, and you can scan it, and it tells you. It obviously tracks all of your fats, your proteins, and your fibers, and obviously your calories during the day. The biggest thing I've always found that's difficult with this is I find it hard to remember to do everything. So obviously you've got to track everything. You've got to be really disciplined to follow this particular lifestyle. And again, the whole purpose of me doing this particular thing is just to get everybody's opinion. So how do you guys do remember to track every single bit of food? It's obviously great because you can put all of your information into these apps. And this, and say for instance, obviously me being a bigger guy, obviously I'm a man, so 2,500 calories is my recommended daily intake. So it might tell me that I need to have what, say 2,000. Absolutely fine. I can try and stick to 2,000, but it's a case of remembering to put that information into a calorie counting app such as MyFitnessPal. Do you know what I mean? Like it's dead easy if you're just eating a lot of stuff where you buy it from the shop, like tins, or then and you're scanning a meal or whatever, and it's got that barcode on there. The information is brilliant, but when you're making stuff from home, which we tend to do in this house, we tend to make a lot of stuff from home to following the Slimming World diet. How are you supposed to track that properly? And I mean properly, if you're portioning everything, obviously, say if you're making a spaghetti bolognese, that which is like a Slimming World variant, how are you supposed to then track that? So again, any comments that from people who are primarily following a calorie counting diet, can you leave them down below? Because these are all going to be helpful for me to learn how to maybe do this in the future if it's something that I feel like I want to do, that if I want to change something up, and if you are doing it, fair play to you because you must be one disciplined son of a bitch. And finally, we're talking about vegan or plant based diets. And again, this is certainly one that I could never follow. But that's not to say that I'm bashing vegans or anything like that. Certainly not. I think my attitudes have changed quite a lot since I've learned more about it, and since I actually tried out there and went out there and tried some vegan food. I would say me of about 5 or 6 years ago was very naive. What are you eating a vegan diet for? You're going to be very malnourished, blah blah blah. Um, and then like I worked with some vegans and seeing what they were doing, and how they would follow that diet, and the fact that it isn't all just eating grass, plants, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? It's obviously the alternatives that they have. Obviously the plant-based food, meats, chicken, and all that sort of thing. Plant-based stuff where they have like their version of what would be like I say an Indian chicken curry. And I'm only going by stuff I've tasted, and I have to admit, yes, obviously what was supposed to be chicken wasn't chicken, but it tasted absolutely fine. And people swear by these diets. I personally couldn't do it because there's too much out there that I would miss. And me being a meat eater, I'm just being honest. I enjoy meat. Do you know what I mean? But a lot of people with the plant-based diet, anyone who might watch this, I don't know if you do, because obviously I am not your kind of demographic. But again, what are your tips for doing that? How do you make a lot of your food yourself? Do you go out and buy a lot of the food? Do you trust places that make their plant-based food, or like ready meals or something like that? Do you trust them? How do you get along with that particular diet? You know what I mean? So let me know in the comments down below. And finally, we're talking about the jabs. So obviously, what I was on is Mounjaro, and then you've got Wegovy and you've got Saxenda, the main three from what I knew of. I can only really go by my experience on Mounjaro, and it was always a positive experience. Everything that I wanted to use it for was because obviously I got diagnosed as a type 2 diabetic. I wasn't able to get it on the NHS. My doctor wouldn't prescribe it to me, so I had to go and get it private. And we used a pharmacy known as Ashcroft. And obviously, everyone knows my story, so I'm going to keep that very brief. I've decided to come off it because of the price rises. Now, I know a lot of people have switched over from Mounjaro to Wegovy, and my question to you guys is what are the differences that you're noticing? Are you noticing a lot of differences? Is has your body reacted in the same way? For instance, do you get the food noise? Um, does it um, does it have side effects? You know, the biggest side effect for me with Manjaro was a bad stomach. You know, feeling sick, but that was primarily as I was using the 10 dose. So obviously, I've come to understand that I might have had too much of that dose in my system. Um, you know, and I really don't know anybody that's using the Saxenda one. And again, what differences do you get with that? What side effects? Now, the thing that people need to take mind of with the weight loss jabs is that they should be used um, alongside a well balanced diet. If you're not going to do it via a well balanced diet, it isn't going to work. It's as simple as that. And there you have it. So I've went through the diets that I believe are prevalent in today's society, and what I feel a lot of people are doing. So whether or not you're calorie counting or you're skipping breakfast or you're doing jabs, let me know how your journeys are doing down below. As I say, everybody's got their own reason for doing things, and everybody's got the way that they believe works for them. None of these particular diets I would ever turn around and say are wrong, because again, they work for some people, don't work for others. So that's not what this is about. This isn't about promoting a single one. This is about getting an idea of how people are going about their weight loss journeys. So I just wanted to do a video and which is a little bit different for me, obviously talking about other things. And I say I'm not an expert in everything. I'm just here to learn, and hopefully other people who watch this learn from any comments that people leave below. So as always, thanks for watching. My name is Robert. Please hit that notification bell so you'll always be notified whenever I upload a video. Like this video, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video, which will be tonight. Um, and that will be me and Catherine doing our weekly meal plan for the week ahead on Slimming World. So if you are interested in Slimming World, keep an eye out for that video, because we're going to be trying some new recipes, as we've been trying to do the last week or so, out of the new Slimming World magazine. I'll speak to you again later. Thanks for watching.